Friends, in continuation of the objectives of teaching, when I was telling you about imparting the knowledge relating to contemporaneous issues and developments, you should also think about how to write a case comment. That is most important thing for a constitutional law student. Case comment. Friends, I was telling you, constitutional law can be told as a doctrinal course. That means you give the provision, cases under it, update. That is essential, my friends. Don't think that it is not important. That is an essential thing. But my advice would be, we should not stop there. The practical implications of these black letter provisions we'll have to explain the students. I would give here one example. When we were working in National Law School, myself, Professor Vijay Kumar, Professor Mallar, all the three of them, we used to go together for cooperative teaching. Professor Mallar used to give the doctrinal aspect, practical aspect, Vijay Kumar. I used to intervene with discussions. Cooperative teaching is different from collaborative teaching. That I would tell you later on. So, in order to get experiential learning, mere doctrinal course is not sufficient. One thing which I would like to tell you is that, my friends, when you are a teacher, in the classroom setup, you should always maintain value neutrality. You should not impose your own opinion on the students. Of course, the students are at the stage to decide whether they want it or not, but it is our duty to maintain value neutrality. Scholarly and critical approach we can give to them, but not our opinion, and should impose our opinion on them. And then analogous approach to constitutional law. When you are telling about framing the constitution, necessarily you would tell this provision is taken from so and so constitution. This provision is taken from so and so constitution, like that it goes on. So when you are taking those provisions, what are the developments that are happening there? You will have to mention. Article 19, when you are taking, it was specifically mentioned. Justice Bhagavati has stated in Express newspaper's case, Article 19 is based upon First Amendment to the American Constitution. And Ambedkar in the Constituent Assembly has mentioned, for every exception we have recognized here, there is an equivalent case in America. So that means that type of analogous study was there even in the Constituent Assembly, and every judgment you can see this analogous approach. These are the things that you will have to remember. Next one is step 4. Evolve and evaluate the course content. I am not saying evaluate the students. Evolve and evaluate the course content. Most of you may not be having the opportunity to evolve the course content, but definitely you can evaluate the course content, my dear friends. That is opting for appropriate pedagogy. If you evaluate it, it gives an opportunity for you to opt for appropriate pedagogy. That is the theory and practice of your education. educating the students. One should understand the difference between curriculum and syllabus. Very loosely we will be using these terms. Curriculum is different from specifications of items of the syllabus. Curriculum refers to the goals to be achieved by each unit, whole subject. That one should understand in order to evaluate the course content. Remember that. Why it is important for constitutional law teachers? Constitutional law is always in flux. It is subject to amendments. It is subject to interpretations. Almost every day you will be looking in the newspapers some item related to the Constitution, some statement relating to the Constitution. So that is why you are required to develop a pedagogy suitable to that. That is why evaluating of the course content is required, my friends. Assess the challenges in dealing with the Constitution. Assess the challenges. As a teacher, in classroom setup, the challenges will be different. Here, you face the difficulty or challenges in dealing with the Constitution. As I have told you, Constitution cannot be alienated from other subjects, including the politics. That is why, my friends, I tell you, even Supreme Court did not accept, rather did not get that neutrality business. For example, you can see between 1966 to 70s, some decisions were there. They were rather imputed with the charge that Supreme Court is in politics. There are books written, the Supreme Court is in politics, and then ADM Jabalpur was also subject to juristic scrutiny. So those things, they are challenges. Second thing is that during pandemic you have seen, the Supreme Court was also criticized for responding very late. Suo moto cases, subsequently they have taken. I think May, in the month of May 2020 they have taken. So, the sociological aspects, how they influence the court, you can see in justice delivery system. And also you can see the problems of migrant laborers. They are all related to the Constitution, my friends. Preparation of informal outline, which you are expected to cover in the classroom setup, you will have to tell. Selecting the source material is another difficult task, suitable to the students. You cannot ask the students to refer to volumes of books. In 1 year, in 2 semesters, how many books they are able to refer? So prepare an outline. You must have your private syllabus in spite of having regular syllabus that is given by the monitoring authorities. After this pedagogy exercise was over, the 6th step comes. Evolve appropriate method of teaching. It is very difficult, my friends. Evolve appropriate method of teaching. Even the best curriculum and most perfect syllabus remains a dead letter unless quickened into life by the right kind of teacher, by the right method of teaching. Both the things are important. Right kind of teacher, right method of teaching. The biggest challenge is to choose appropriate method. Method and presentation of a lesson depends on the nature of the subject and the tact of the teacher and the strategy he is going to adopt. If I ask you, my friends, at least you can reel out a dozen teaching methods. Starting from Socratic method, you cannot substitute with lecture method at any given point of time. Lecture method, case study method, problem solving method, observation method, conversational method, assignment method, clinical method. How many you are having? There are nearly 150 methods, my friends, including hybrid methods. Which one you will choose? That is left to you in the individual teacher. I would like to touch upon one or two things relating to methods of teaching. Most commonly, even if you say, if you are applying for a post, you are asked to give the purpose or what you are going to do. I am going to adopt Socratic method, you say. What is this Socratic method? It is attributed to Socrates, 4th century BC. It is a cooperative, argumentative dialogue. Cooperative, argumentative dialogue generally starts with a hypothesis, go on rather disproving it, and ultimately you may not reach the result also. Socratic method also is treated as pedagogical technique by our people, a form of cooperative, argumentative dialogue, and then inquiry and debate, method of elenchus. All these things you must be hearing. My friends, I tell you, you will not find classical Socratic method anywhere. The method adopted by Socrates, when they continue the argument, it may even lead to the confusion, and that confusion is called aporia. Do you have that one? Can you have that luxury inside the classroom? So there was a modern variant to Socratic method. In real Socratic method, both the parties or three parties or four parties, they do not have prior knowledge about anything. They come and discuss philosophical issues. Here, in the modern Socratic method, the teacher will have prior knowledge. He will pose a hypothetical thing, a guess statement he will make. He will have the knowledge agenda. Students argue. Coolly he will point out to one student. Argument starts. And it goes on. That is one method. Even in the countries like America, wherein they say that Socratic method we are following in famous universities, they have coupled Socratic method with case method. Not always case study with reference to Supreme Court judgments, my friends. Case method may be in-depth study of any particular phenomenon. They couple this argumentative method with case method. Students are required to read on these things, cases, and summarize it prior to attending the classes. Come and discuss. As I have told you, cold call of the teacher will be there on one student. It may lead to some type of rather intimidation, and all these things are there, but still it is considered to be a successful one if it is done with variant. That is one thing. The studies have shown very clearly, my friends, individual study takes long time. Group discussion relatively less time. If it is classroom discussion, still in a less time, you will be able to become an expert in that. So one can try that method. there is for new teachers what is known as micro teaching. It was invented in mid 1960s at Stanford University by Dwight W. Allen. It is like teacher training and faculty development technique. It is known as faculty development technique. Teacher gives a lecture very briefly, and then that lecture is recorded and reviewed. That lecture is recorded and reviewed. That means you will know what is the deficiency in you in teaching. Besides this, there is what is known as flipped classrooms. Flipped classrooms. F stands for flipped, means flexible, learning, intentional content, and professional educator. This is flipped. A flipped classroom is a type of blended learning wherein the student is introduced to the content at home and the practicing work experiential learning will continue through the institutional setup. This is a flipped classroom. And then, my friends, here step number 7 is very, very important. Challenges in the classroom. How do you answer the students? The most common, clarifications the students require. I will give you one example. Article 15 says, state shall not discriminate against any citizen on the grounds of only religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. You go to 15 class 3. Nothing in this class shall prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children. Age is not a prohibited marker under 15 clause 1. Why they have mentioned children? Of course, we justify by saying to show the concern towards children. Similarly, you will find defective drafting in trade, commerce and intercourse provisions, and then in explaining what is existing law and law in force. And you may have to discuss sensitive issues. You may have to take some opinion or the other, which is very difficult. For example, if it is the question of Article 370, if it is the question of the problems relating to sedition cases, hate speeches, Sabarimala case, dissenting and contempt, all these things. So, these are the sensitive issues wherein you are required to answer. Sometimes students will ask, what is the real connection between this provision and my practice in the court? All the 395 articles are not useful for practice. What is the connection between these two? How do you answer that one? When a student asked a question, you are discussing for 1.5 hours about Shamsher Singh's case, 3 teachers, in what way it is related to our practice? I said that is very, very important for everybody in the country to know the nature of the polity in which we are working. Similarly, Article 311 is there with regard to services. Okay? And then, illustrating the themes of the course is another problem. Moot problems you will have to draft, covering several issues. That is another challenge. Different constitutional issues require different approaches. And then when you teach, after your teaching is complete, students will ask you to give classroom notes, because it will be different from what is there actually in the textbooks. That is another challenge of the classroom, my dear friends, you will have to understand. Most importantly, nowadays, our teachers are facing the problem, that is the 8th step, use of ICT, use of information communication technologies for the purpose of effective teaching, for the purpose of helping in classroom teaching. Especially when we are trained for the last 2 years in synchronous learning, most of the times when the target group is more than 100, they opt for synchronous learning only. So necessarily you must have knowledge as to how to integrate ICT. I should also tell you, my friends, there is what is known as computer assisted legal research, CALR. Now it is becoming in some of the foreign universities part of the syllabus also. What is it? Computer assisted legal research that uses database of court opinions, statutes, court documents, all these things, secondary material that is available online, highly useful for constitutional law students, my dear friends, not only for PhD students, even for undergraduate, postgraduate, law students. In the classroom, suppose you are giving citation, you missed a point, immediately students will be able to correct it. SEC online is there, some online is there, Manupatra is there, like that. Electronic databases have become source of knowledge, and one has to be well versed on that. And another thing is that Robert Berring, Koch, Carl Bast, Ransford Pyle, all of them, they have stated that CALR is bringing about profound changes in legal community, in legal education. Of course, my friends, this CALR may lead to overconfidence. By touch of button, you are able to get the information. You are able to get some knowledge about various provisions. It has its limitations, my friends. It gives overconfidence, number one. Number two, affordability, accessibility, acceptability, training, all these things are not totally there. Basically, they are unequal. We were criticizing synchronous method is basically unequal. Even CALR is basically unequal. And the point of motivation, how do we get motivation if it is CALR? The difference between arts, science and engineering students in respect of the attitude towards ICT is different. Cannot be a substitute for personal contact of a teacher to the student. These are the limitations, but we cannot ignore the possibility of this one. Step 10, my dear friends. The last one, instructional design, is a very, very important one. It is like a blueprint for teaching. It is like constructing your house brick by brick very carefully. You will have to build your teaching. You will have to build your instruction. For that you must have a plan. especially when you are in the nascent stage of your teaching career. Logically arranged, orderly arranged things will give you scope for effective presentation of the subject matter. It minimizes deviation, evolves appropriate levels of teaching, brings confidence in teachers, and then promotes refinement of teaching. One more point is that I was telling about the credo. That credo is automatically taken care of if you have instructional plan. And then, my dear friends, you will be able to anticipate the students' needs in the classroom. Now, number one, in instructional plan, take a white paper and write down 9 parameters. Number one, title the topic which you are going to deal with. The nature of the class. Is it LLM or LLB or first year? Whatever it is, or ordinary target group. So, nature of the class. Time available. Generally, law teachers, especially constitutional law teachers, will exceed the time. But you must take care of the time available. Previous knowledge of the student. You will have to estimate the terminal knowledge. Objectives, that is the fifth one. Teaching aids, it is different from the method. What are the teaching aids you are going to take up? I am going to show on PowerPoint. I am going to write on the blackboard. I am going to give charts. Teaching aids. Instructional procedure is another one. Starting from, my friends, it is like smooth takeoff and safe landing. I repeat it, smooth takeoff and safe landing. Start from some introduction, what we have covered in the last class. State the purpose of dealing in the matter in this class. Then give presentation and summarize the teaching points in the end, and then put few questions, evaluate. And then every teaching must be associated with value orientation. Eighth one is summing up and then evaluation. These things you are experts already, my dear friends. There are 2 or 3 tips before I close. I will give you. Grade the subject matter that you wanted to teach. Must know, should know, nice to know. Some side lights will be there, like orbiter. So you need not cover them if there is a time factor. Develop the subject matter. Proceed from known to unknown, simple to complex. And then check the level of understanding of the group whom you are teaching. Follow instructional plan or lesson plan meticulously. Estimate and keep the time track. Recapitulate, review and repeat. This is the thing that you must understand, my friends. Thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.